Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CMA Weekly Webinar Series. I'm Mike Wilkening, part of the content team here at ARC, and I will be your host for today's webinar, Harnessing Machine Learning and Generative AI for RGM Success. Now, today, our host, Bungee Tech, and our special guest, Champion Pet Foods, will show how AI and machine learning will help you overcome data challenges, and they have some great insights, too, about the role of data for your RGM strategy. Now, a couple things before we get started. We're going to be recording today's presentation and post it in our resource library, so don't worry if you miss anything. Now, we should also have time at the end for your questions, so feel free to enter any questions that you have in the chat, and we'll make sure to get to them. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce today's presenters. From Champion Pet Foods, we have Paul Morgan. Now, Paul currently leads analytics at Champion, which is among the top premium pet food companies in the world. He's collaborated with manufacturers and retailers across North America, and he's worked with brands of all sizes, global multinationals to small startups, utilizing omnichannel RGM, marketing mix, innovation, and shopper insights to drive remarkable revenue growth. Now, from our friends at Bungee Tech, we have Caitlin Arose, Director of Marketing there. Now, Caitlin has many years of experience with manufacturer and retail tech solutions like trade spend management and optimization platforms, and she brings this expertise to Bungee Tech. We're also pleased to have on the line the founder and CEO of Bungee Tech, Rajat Nijam. Now, prior to starting Bungee Tech, Rajat was hired by Amazon for a secret data collection project. And then his career brought him to Starbucks, where he launched worldwide mobile applications as the Director of Global Product Management. So we're very pleased to have today's presentation kick off. And with that, I hand it to our panelists to kick things off. So Caitlin, Paul, Rajat, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Paul and Rajat, for being here. I'm glad to see everyone today. We're going to cover generative AI capabilities and limitations. We're going to talk about the use cases of tech to drive revenue growth at your organization. And we're going to talk about how Bungee Tech uses generative AI and machine learning in our solutions. But first, let me start here. Let's talk about what influences shoppers, what drives growth. So regardless of technology, there's a few core truths that hold true for shoppers as they go through their journey. In each of these areas, technology is available so that you can accelerate your shopper's experience and create a better moment of purchase, which elevates you above any of your competition. So let me explain. Speed and convenience, so something like it's easy and quick to shop the store, or there's a really efficient checkout process, the actual location is super convenient. Then there's assortment and analytics, which drives purchases because the spend is influenced by selection or quality. Digital influences, where shoppers are influenced by tech. So great app experiences or awesome shipping terms are really important. Operations are definitely a purchase driver. So shoppers look for their brand, they want the product they want, and they want it to be available, and they want consistency across channels in price availability. And then, of course, there's the price, promotion, and rewards aspect. Money matters to driving long-term results, and customers are actually willing to trade off on saving themselves time as long as they get value in terms of price and quality of the products purchased. So I'm going to let Rajat talk a little bit about how ML and AI can help here.
Thank you, Caitlin, and thank you, CMA, for giving us the opportunity to host. The good news is that clear business use cases are emerging for applying machine learning, and most businesses agree that machine learning will have a very high impact in each area of retail operation. In today's session, though, we'll focus largely on merchandising, which we believe is the most dominant signal. Caitlin, if you could go to the next slide. But before I talk about the specific use cases, I want to talk a little bit about machine learning itself. I mean, we use so many different terms, and it's best to understand them a little bit. So think of AI as the broader discipline of making autonomous systems which can think and perform operations like human beings. A subset of that is machine learning, which focuses on creating models that can perform tasks and make predictions by learning from existing data. Now, here again, there has been an evolution from supervised learning models to unsupervised to what we call deep learning models now. And deep learning uses AI neural networks, which are inspired by the human brain. They are built to handle more complex patterns compared to any other traditional models that we have seen in the past. These can be trained on very little data with very little amount of labeling and can consume a very large amount of unlabeled data and uses a combination of supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised learning to do predictions and do operations. Now, there is another classification that you should understand. There are two types of models. There is something called discriminative models and generative models. When you think of doing tasks, let's say classification or predictions, you need what is called discriminative models. These models use existing data, labeling, and learn from them. So for example, if you want a model to look at a bunch of fruits and say what is an apple, you need a discriminative model. Then the other set of model is generative, which is the buzzword right now, thanks to ChatGPT, the LLM models, for example. The generative models learn from existing data, and they are used to basically then generate what an apple looks like. So it looks at all the apples, and then it can say that, look, I can create what an apple looks like. And we need both these kind of different models for long-term retail operations. So I want to talk about how this applies to the real world, for example. So let's say and if you could build the visual, Caitlin. Let's talk about assortment gap management. You need to take your catalog and then you need to match it to the rest of the world to find out really what is the assortment overlap and gap with your competitors. To do that, you need to match or link your products with your competitors' catalog. Now, to do that, you need a discriminative model. When you want to onboard an assortment gap and finally create a listing page for it, you need a generative AI model. So you need both hand in hand to basically operate any kind of retail operation. The similar examples go in other areas. For example, you look at your competitors' data and use discriminative models to come up with recommendations for running a promotion. But to create a great product content or updated listing page for running the promotion, you need a generative AI model. And the combination of both is where the revenue growth begins.
Yes, absolutely. So the ultimate output, right, that we want to see is creating growth. So with RGM, you typically focus on key operational elements, things like price and trade spending, assortment. Those things help you better understand success drivers, and hopefully they're helping you identify new and profitable opportunities. Paul, RGM isn't a new concept, but what's different about a future successful RGM strategy from your perspective?
Sure. Well, before I go ahead and make my comments, just like to say all my comments are my own. They don't represent that of Champion Pet Foods or any associated organization with Champion. This is based on my experience of working with CPG clients across North America for the last 20 years with Nielsen as well, working in the space of RGM, assortment optimization and other things, as you heard mentioned earlier. So RGM as a practice has been talked about for many, many years. The challenges have come about it not being adopted widely is because cost. Acquiring competitive data could be expensive. Then it's the process of ingesting that data and the people able to manage and plan that data. So if you think about your own trade plans and your trade spending programs and the trade planning, probably you're doing 1 to 2 trade planning sessions per year at best, because it takes a long time for your vendor to generate maybe the elasticity models, your analytics team to create these kind of insights into the competitive analysis. And then you've got to go through the process of understanding trade budgets with finance. And then you've got to go through the process of like planning out with the sales team what the plan looks like, getting it approved. And by the time you've gone through that cycle, you're months and months into the process. That's not going to scale well in any organization. And so with the things that Rajat's talked about, the generative and the other types of AI models you have, This is where the accelerator comes about. Now, it's still early days for this technology for many folks. There are companies who've been using it, but not calling it that. It's just a marketing term in some cases that's really kind of caught fire because of, as Rajat said, ChatGPT has come about and introduced this LLM concept. It's been around for years. It's just, you know, we've called it different things in the past, and it's really been one of those kind of hidden behind the scenes things. Well, now we're seeing this technology come to the forefront, but what's yet to happen is that hasn't yet hit RGM, but it will. And the winners are going to be those who start to adopt RGM in things such as accelerating the process of collecting the data, the process of managing the data, and then planning the data.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I mean, the real differentiation we see with companies that are able to drive growth and then those that are struggling to generate positive outcomes, it starts with the data. And we really preach about high quality data. The secret weapon is to be able to trust and leverage your data collection process, match your products, and really get that output so that you can have this process that connects to your business and continue to scale without, like you said, that burden of operational costs. I want to talk about, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, before one thing just mentioned about this, don't think that ChatGPT is the panacea of everything. It's not. Large language models can be customized based off context, right? So giving a CPG or ChatGPT might be great for the marketing team to generate some SEO related content, but it's not going to help you with other aspects of the business like RGM.
Very well said.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to drive growth, let's talk about that reliable data. I'm going to give you a quick overview of what the Bungee Tech platform is. So we start with a patented data collection process that allows us to gather data without any interruptions from some of the hardest sources on earth. And then we further harmonize that with your internal enterprise data or third-party sources. And then we solve one of your biggest challenges, which is to reconcile and match products across all of the sources to stitch the most accurate, up-to-date picture of the marketplace. And then you get the analytics from differentiated price, promotion, availability, and assortment. We also are working with our customers to automate actions based on the analytics we produce. So think about price optimization and content curation based on machine learning models customized to your business needs. And then we can talk a little bit more about the challenges of product matching.
Yeah, thank you, Gillian. I believe product matching is a foundational problem which impacts everything we do with data, including the analytics we produce and the automation we do on top of those analytics. It is a multi-dimensional problem and continues to be a challenge for most businesses. And despite of all the tech advancements in catalog management, we've seen that the general catalog quality continues to be very poor. I mean, I've seen everything that can possibly go wrong, from missing titles, descriptions, to wrong UPCs, to wrong categorization and prices, basically everything. In this image, I'm just to assert, how complex the problem is. I just want to show a popular product, a Purina product. Notice the variation in the treatment of brands and categorization of the product across, catalogs, across a few retailers. Which make it very, very hard to do the reconciliation and super error prone. And we believe that your ability to profitably compete in the market without sacrificing margin or suffering losses is directly related to accurate product matching. So whether you're trying to match a price to your beachhead competitor, or you're trying to onboard a great new product and close the assortment gap, this needs to be perfectly accurate. Now this is where we come into picture. We've built multimodal machine learning models which use both discriminative and generative AI capabilities over multiple years. We have trained our models over many years over different retail data sets. We use both text and image input to do some of the hardest product matching on behalf of our customers. I'll draw your attention to these pictures that we have. Look at these strawberries. I mean, look at the treatment of the title to the SKU, the UPC. Look at the size, how one size is 1 lb, the other one is 16 ounces, and the differences in the categories. Even look at the pictures, how different the pictures is. our models are basically able to reconcile all these differences in all these different aspects of data, and then able to say that these strawberries are the same. Similarly, this jar of gherkins on the right-hand side. I mean, look at the difference in the angles of the picture, the difference in treatment of the attributes. One is in English, the other one is in French. The difference is in categorization, and even then the model is basically able to say that these products are the same. If you could go to the next slide, Caitlin. Here is another example where, despite of all the, in addition to all the differences in all the textual attributes, look how the packaging is different. Even then, the models are basically able to reconcile these products and say that these products are actually the same. And if you could go to the next one, in addition to the machine learning models, look, it's extremely important that we have a human feedback loop and audit process built in, and which is where we have built applications and workflows where our auditors at Bungee Tech and you as category managers can inspect the output of the machine learning models, and you can give the feedback whether the model is doing a good job or not. And this is applicable to both exact matching, we are able to create exact product matches, one-to-one matches, and also equivalent matches. We take care of matching national brands to national brands, private labels to private labels, private label to national brand, basically all combinations possible. And with your reviews and feedback to the model keeps learning and keeps becoming better over a period of time.
Yeah, it's really incredible, and I think that we should. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just looking at, and my mind just went to something just as I was looking at that slide or those set of slides, thinking about, like, if you're just operating on one, let's say you're an Amazon only manufacturer right now, you're probably not thinking to yourself that this is so much a problem. Yes, Amazon uses ASINs and you may use UPC codes or whatever, but the moment you add another retailer, the problem becomes exponentially harder, because now you've got to manage all that, and adding another, if you have 5 retailers, if you're trying to manage that problem yourself, it just seems to be overwhelming and really costly.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. The scale is hard to deny. And I just think the idea of being able to match at that scale will really help all the retailers and manufacturers drive growth. Paul, I'm curious, I recently read a McKinsey article that said generative AI gives people, superpowers. I think that means it's a great resource to help us see and solve problems and, dive into deeper thinking. I think that generative AI and machine learning, they're not just buzzworthy topics, they're actually really powerful tools that the industry can use and leverage to drive growth. So I'd love to hear from your perspective the transformations you've seen in the industry. What's the best approach to this sort of technology? Why did companies hold off on investing in this technology? What's the outcome? What's the payoff?
Sure. So I think right now, if I was to poll for example, manufacturers in the space, they'd probably say that it's marketing is going to be the first people to jump on board, because it's the lowest hanging fruit, right? You can take all your Amazon listings or your whichever vendor, your retail vendor you're working with, and start to optimize your SEO, or start to optimize your content and your copy and your images, and maybe even generate some images for those specific examples using generative AI. That's easy to do. It's also challenging as well, because if you're giving up your, you still have to kind of copy or audit the copy, because AI can still hallucinate information, right? So it's still a human element of auditing content that's coming out that information, making sure there's regulatory compliance, making sure there's a load of things you have to think about just to get generative content into the readable / viewable space. But in terms of RGM, which is part of this conversation, I think it's going to be a little bit of a slower task. I think there are vendors out there, and I know, looking ahead of the slides you gave me, Rajat, that you are actually using generative AI already and have been for some years in your own technology stack. But for many vendors out there, they're still playing around with the idea. There was a survey by VentureBeat just came out recently, and it asked how much difference would we see difference in investment in the next 12 months for companies in AI, and this is generally speaking, not specific to CPG. About 70 to 80% of companies said we won't change anything. And the reason probably is in part due to the current economic situation. Are we going to recession or not? Lots of budget tightening, coming up supply chain issues, all sorts of things have been going on which have really pressured the margins and what have you. And that's caused a lot of price increases across the categories that we've seen. And really, at the start of COVID, we pulled back on promotions, but promotions are starting to be ramped up now as retailers look and say, okay, we're seeing margin compression, we're seeing some issues, we're seeing customers pulling back on their spending. How do we get more out of the system? Now, the default to go to is then start doing more promotions. And believe me, I've worked in promotion management for many, many years. And I would challenge people to say, what's your purpose? What's your objective behind promoting? If you can tell me that, that's great. If you can't tell me why you're promoting stuff, maybe you should start taking a look at the reasons why you want to promote and the reasons why you don't want to promote. It shouldn't just be to, for the hell of it, or we did it last year, so we can do it again, or we want to keep this space. Trade dollars are really kind of something you want to protect and make sure you use them the right way to manage your ROI. So if you think again about that planning cycle I was talking about, if you're taking a long time to get to that plan, then the dollars are leaking away because the effectiveness is, you're taking time to get to the activation stage. The place where we all need to get towards is allowing the AI to, or the ML AI systems to help us accelerate the planning and the data collection so we can start making value-added decisions to the business rather than waiting 3 months for the models and waiting some time for the competitive analysis. That should be almost turnkey. That's been around for years and years and years, and it can be automated by machines much quicker than it is today. So the challenge is out there to lots of vendors to basically get off the legacy stuff they've been selling and to start getting in with the program of that organizations are going to be looking to either implement generative AI themselves, or they'll be looking to the vendors to do so. And there aren't that many out there that can truly, they say in the marketing content, but if you start to dig beneath the layers, you'll see many of those companies are just using AI in the loosest terms. I think, Rajat, you've got some slides in a second that talk about how you've been using that AI for some years now, and so you're probably a differentiator in that space from maybe some other folks.
Let me jump ahead. So, we wanted to say, here's, the proof's in the pudding. Tech-enabled transformation will really allow you to react to competitive threats and opportunities across all of your channels. We want to highlight more effective promotions. We want to optimize our pricing. We want to avoid out of stocks and stock the right products. So here we're just highlighting a few things that our customers have said. A primary partner for competitive intelligence, reliable and consistent data, very trusted to price competitively and increase our selection. So we're really proud of that fact. Rajat, do you have anything to add around this?
Absolutely. Look, we've been working with many retailers for many years now. And I think the biggest problem when we started working with omni-channel retailers across the board was really truly starting with improvement of match coverage to begin with, and getting accurate data, and then generating accurate analytics on top of it. And we've been building upon the learnings. And at this point in time, if you go to the next slide, Caitlin, we've built a stack that we're very proud of, which is machine learning models, both discriminative and LLM models, which are highly specific to the retail industry. It's imperative that you work with a partner who has a lot of industry-specific data to begin with, and then values quality and accuracy as the penultimate thing, that penultimate value that is respected in the whole process. And then has built demonstrated models that work for the retail industry. And there we have done a lot of work. I mean, we worked on retail specific data and build our own models. And then we have a unique ability to take your data, for example, your catalog, to do product matching. or your catalog to then further enrich it using generative AI capability to build models which are then custom to your business. And that, I think, differentiates us from anything and everybody out there. And that, I think, is imperative for you to get started with using machine learning models and generative AI. And all of that powers the output to the other retail business applications you use, whether it's price optimization, promotion optimization, automating and optimizing marketing, any other thing that's touched by data.
Awesome. I know that we only have a few minutes left. Mike, if there are any audience questions or anything like that, let us know that we can answer. And if we don't get them today, we'll follow up and answer any questions afterwards too.
Well, thank you guys. This was wonderful. We do have a few questions that we'd like to get to here in the minutes that we have left. And as Caitlin mentioned, if you've got other questions, please do enter them in the chat. We'd be happy to get to them either in these last few minutes or offline. So the first question we've got, which I'll direct to the panel here, is not clear on why product matching is that important. We work on a buy retailer approach, so surely that's something we'd be able to skip, right?
Yeah, I think when you are dealing with a lot of data coming from disparate sources, I think it's the most important ability to be able to basically match your data coming from your systems with other external parties or other competitors before you can act upon it. I'll tell you that even as a brand, and we work with a bunch of brands, we believe that if you are, for example, trying to reconcile data from different retailer sources to begin with, I think it's imperative that you have some sort of matching in place to be able to monitor data. If you want to build a single pane of glass in terms of how your products are basically performing across the market, I think matching is the connecting tissue to begin with. And we've seen that, it may seem innocuous, and you may believe that there's a standard UPCs which are present across all retailer catalogs, and it would be very easy to reconcile your product data. But believe me when I say this, we have seen the worst. Wrong UPCs to missing UPCs to different variations and representations of the UPCs, and it becomes very hard very quickly to basically reconcile information. And Paul, I'll let you add to it from your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking from my past, working with CPG organizations, I've worked with some of the large ones that, and they've spent a lot of time and people on trying to do product matching. And it's to the point of like the success rate of product matching I heard at the time was about 65% maximum matching capability. And that's still not good enough. So, if an organization like Bungee is doing a higher percentage and scaling it faster and quicker and more accurate, then I think, it's no brainer really what you have to do.
Thanks for some of the past perspective on that, Paul, and Rajat, your perspective as well. This obviously seems like kind of a problem area where it seems like we're making some ground, which is a great thing. There's another product matching question that's coming in. And it's your models could automatically do product matching, but can a category manager add their own matches?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have the capability for you to add ad hoc matches, and in fact, the good part is we learn from it, and we try to make sure that we leverage that match as a manual signal, and that goes back into improving the matching of the model. But for us, matching is a continuous 24/7 process. As we are monitoring catalogs across the marketplace, and as they are changing, including your own catalog, where we have the ability to continuously discover new matches and also update the ones that we have already established.
Right, thank you. Thank you for that. Again, sort of the process behind it as well. A couple other ones have come in. A couple data questions. As we know, obviously a huge issue. The question is, how do you send data to the customer, and can it be available in an API feed?
Yeah, so we have all variations. I mean, real-time streaming is becoming popular. A lot of our customers are moving to Kafka-based stacks. We do that. We provide feeds. We provide micro batches. We provide APIs. We also, of course, put data in different kinds of dashboards which are available to business users. And we have a further option of customizing our data if needed for specific enterprise systems. But as of today, I think we pretty much cover everything under the sun.
Wonderful. And on the subject of data, another one we've got in about a data capture vendor that they've got. This is our current data capture vendor can only collect from some of our retailers. It seemed to be a problem if you can't collect from all of them. But what's the difference in terms of how you guys can collect data?
Yeah. Great question. Look, I mean, in terms of our data capture capability, we cover about 250 plus retailers in the country. On a given day, we are capturing intraday zip level data. On an average day, we are collecting about 1 billion data points, monitoring about 20 million products on an average day from, I would say, about 127,000 brands, 45,000 categories, and those are some general stats to highlight the scale at which we operate. And we can, on the online side of the house, we can, during the holidays, for example, collect data as frequently as 15 minutes every day. And then, on the in-store side of the house, we can do audits as quickly as daily audits across the store, across the country.
Wonderful. Thanks for kind of that clear picture of how this comes together. So we're almost at time here, but wanted to give you guys a couple more minutes. Rajat, Paul, Caitlin, just any sort of closing thoughts. Again, sort of about sort of the Bungee Tech value proposition, just sort of experiences, just any final sort of thoughts here as we wrap today.
I'll add something. One of the things we haven't talked about that affects revenue growth management as well, which is fairly new, is that a pattern we're seeing in industries or categories across CPG is that retailers are changing their inventory management. They're looking for more lean inventory management processes, which is causing challenges for some manufacturers out there to keep stock levels up, as they're also looking at their own inventory management for raw materials, etc. So it's a kind of multiple issue that's going on that leads us to out stocks. So you can have the best images, the best copy in the world, the best pricing in the world, but if you don't stock it, you're never going to sell it. So that's the other part that really has to be kind of the closed loop on the whole thing. Getting pricing right, getting copy right, getting images right, getting the right price value equation is great, but being in stock is you're gonna live and die by that one. So really important that while we're thinking about all these great things, we also consider that aspect as well.
Absolutely, plus one on that. And I would add that, look, which is also where ML can help tremendously. We have experience of using customer data along with combining it with other kind of predictive models to predict an out of stock and generate forecasts around inventory ordering. So yeah, generally agree to that. Yes.
Thanks.
Yep.
Well, this was wonderful. It certainly is. It's always timely to talk about RGM, which we know is, sort of just is always going to be table stakes, but something a very valuable a part of the toolkit for all of our members here, and obviously the explosion of AI and machine learning and how all the pieces fit together. There's always a lot of great interest about RGM. Just wanted to say thank you again to everybody. Thank you to our panelists for today. I thought this was great. We're really excited about that. With that, we will put a bow on today's webinar, and we look forward to seeing you next time for our webinar series. Thanks all, and have a great remainder of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Paul. Bye, Rajat.